All right, everybody, this is Bonafide Mike here on YouTube with episode 20 of Just Two People Talking. And if you haven't guessed, as you can see, we have a returning guest to the show. This is part two of our Gary Davenport interview. So we covered a lot in the first one, and now the second one, we're going to continue on with the rest of his musical adventures and journeys. So after we left off on the first interview, let's talk about Closet Records. So can you expound on some of that? We'll just
Yeah. Well, the seed for Closet Records came when I was probably age 14 because of the Beatles and the Moody Blues. Because the Beatles were my very favorite group, as it was the case for most people of my age and older then. And the Moody Blues, who were my favorite group after the Beatles, and both groups ended up having their own record labels. So I thought then, well, why can't I have my own record label? And
That's
so
true.
It was years away from becoming a reality, but I never let go of that dream. And I held steadfast to that in the years to come. And of course, if I had had the good fortune of, and the bands I was with, if we had had the good fortune of being signed by a record label, then of course we would have gone with it. I say of course. Yeah, chances are of course, yes. But ultimately, I was wanted my own record company.
and did Closet Records have a logo? Did it have a certain design or a logo?
Yes, that was designed by my girlfriend at the time. She was always sketching.
Okay.
And in fact, with the Scattered Thoughts album that the Numero group released,
Oh, okay.
they were very impressed with her sketchings and asked if she might consider using her artwork for the cover, and they contacted her after all those years of she and I no longer being a thing, and she said, well, yes, of course. So anyway, but yes, she was the one who designed the logo, which was perfect at the time, and then she also did the record cover for the first Mannequin EP, which was where the song Scattered Thoughts was on.
Okay.
So that's where that all started. And in order to, since we didn't have a record deal, in order to get our stuff released, we needed to have a label. So I talked it over with the band, and they were all on board. They're like, let's do it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mark Champion got very interested, and he wanted to partner with me on it. And so that's how it happened.
How many
So-
releases were on that label?
Oh God, I've got to really think about this for a second. There were 2 Mannequin, 1 Rejects, that's 3. Michael Escamilla, that's 4. Mark and I, we did a record together, that's 5. Then I did a record on my own, that's 6. Then there was a compilation album, that's 7. Then Michael Escamilla with his band Tubular Face did 2, right? Yeah. So that's 7 and 8. And finally, there was a compilation album of different bands from the local area. So what is that, 9?
Yeah, I believe so.
So,
That's pretty cool, though. That was and are those? Can you still find any of those?
probably Michael Escamilla, yes,
Mhm.
with Tubular Face.
Okay.
But you can't find the other records, but you're going to pay a premium price for them. At one time, the Rejects record was going for $1,500
Wow.
on eBay.
Dang. Oh, okay. So from there, where do we go from with the Muse Myth records
That's much later.
recordings?
That's much later. Actually, Red Square, after Mannequin dissolved, and Closet Records kind of came to an end because of all that, I joined up with the other guys that became Red Square. And when we recorded our album, they were not keen on the idea of putting it on Closet Records.
Really?
Yeah, so I was like, fine, that's fine.
Wow.
I was ready to move on.
Okay.
I mean, because Red Square was a whole different kind of thing from anything I had ever done. It was basically a rock group, not as very good, but in my opinion, and the rest of the guys may not agree with me, but not as adventurous as some of the other recordings with Closet.
Okay.
Closet definitely was more interested in experimenting. Red Square was more about just keeping to the task of what we were doing.
Okay.
And we had really good songs. But anyway, so we had our own label to release the record, and we called it Sonic Frequency.
Ah, okay.
So that was in 1987. The last Closet record was As Raindrops Become Ocean, which was a compilation album, and that was 1985. So from 85 to 87, Sonic Frequency and Red Square. And then Red Square came to an end.
Okay.
Okay, and so then after that, I went through personal soul searching. I was going through my second marriage and divorce. And I had a kind of a spiritual awakening. And I didn't want to do anything with music at all. So I sold a bunch of records I had, sold every guitar I owned, sold all my sound equipment, and that was it. I didn't touch a guitar for the next, 2 years. But anyway, I'm jumping ahead. So in 1989, sorry I jumped ahead there.
No.
In 1989, I still was doing music actually, but I was going through my divorce. And I had a group of songs, enough for a small album, a very short album. And that's when I was still in communication with Will Willard, who was lead guitar player from Red Square. And he said, look, I can get you free recording time if you want to at Walk on Water Studios in New Braunfels. And it's up to you. I said, yeah, I would love to get these songs recorded. So we walked into the studio and we recorded my first solo album, which was called Vita Nova. And that was on, I decided not to put that on Closet. And came up with another record label, which was called Swiss Army Records.
Swiss Army Records.
That
Okay.
was suggested to me by a guy who did the cover art. And I was like, I don't care. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Now looking back, I wish I'd put it on Closet Records. But it's okay. So, got the album done. I was extremely happy with that album. And free recording time. I didn't have the money to release it though, but another very good friend of mine loaned me the money to put it out. And we put it out on Swiss Army, and it was put out on cassette only though.
Oh, cassette. Those actually have made a comeback now.
Yes, they have.
Cassettes have come back. That's odd, but that's still pretty cool.
So yeah, that was the only way you could get it. And actually cassettes were doing okay at the time. Anyway, it really didn't go anywhere. And then that was when I said, okay, I stopped playing, doing anything, and my daughter was like, I don't know, 3 years old at the time, and I just focused on my daughter and my spiritual awakening, so to speak. And so that's what I was going through. And then I moved on from there. And finally, again, after talks with Will Willard, a good friend Will Willard, who I still communicate with, which there'll be more on at the end of this. Anyway, he was a manager of a music store in New Braunfels, and he said, "Look, if you need a guitar, let me know." So I wanted to buy an acoustic guitar, and I finally bought another guitar in 1993, and I started playing the guitar again and started writing again. And that's when I had more ideas and new songs for a new album to come.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I finally had another group of songs for my next album, which was called Wonder Slips Away. And I started recording at Eugene Inc.'s place, which was Crazy Cat.
Oh, wow.
And he had his little studio back there, and he had boxes piled up everywhere, and they had snakes of wires running through everything with a control board behind it all. Where he would sit back there,
That's cool.
and I would be where I couldn't see him and he couldn't see me. Started recording the album, and all of a sudden you could hear his voice go, "Tapes rolling," you know, and then I would start the song. So I recorded a few songs that way, just guitar and voice, and then little by little we started adding parts of other instruments. And that was about the time I met Fred Placenter, who passed away. And he and I played music together for the next 20 years. We're very like this. So he started adding his violin parts. And little by little things started happening. Then Kevin Lewis came on board on bass guitar. And then eventually Raul Garcia on drums and percussion. And Raul used to be with a group called Felt None.
Felt None. Okay,
Felt
that sounds
None.
familiar.
Oh, they were pretty popular at the time. And Red Square and Felt None did a few gigs together when we played live back in the Red Square days.
Mm.
Again, I jump in. So we were a quartet for a while. That was 1993 or 94, 95 through 99, and beyond, and beyond. So in 2008, I came into a lot of money, where I was able to finish being Wonder Slips Away at Edit Point Studios with Donnie Mills.
Oh, wow. Another name.
Yeah. So I completed the album there. I spent a lot of money on getting that record done. A lot of money. And I came up with the name Muse Smith. Why? Well, because for me, as it is with the case with a lot of musicians, the muse speaks to you, right? And then the idea of myth and mythology, which has always been a very active element in everything I write and
Mm-hmm.
am inspired by. And so I love the idea of Muse Smith as a label. So the two words became one and became Muse Smith Recordings. I set it up. My goal and dream was to have other artists. Never happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. So then, the next album after that was The Dream Into Summer. The Door Into Summer. And that was 5 years later. And that was all done at Edit Point with Donnie Mills and myself producing it. And basically the same musicians again. But then I also had, who did I have? I had Gil Ward on steel guitar. Actually, he was on Wonder Slips Away. Damn it, I'm forgetting names here.
That's all right.
I don't.
There's a lot of people you worked with. I can't believe that you can remember as many names like that already.
Can
It's
you pause it for a second?